Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the UNSW Arts, Design and Architecture Information Evening. Thank you for taking the time to be here. Whether you're a prospective student, a parent or a caregiver, a teacher or someone exploring a new direction, tonight is about helping you feel clearer and more confident about what studying with us could look like, what you can study, how you can combine interest across areas, the kind of experience you can expect, and the different ways you can gain entry. As we go, feel free to ask any questions via the Q&A function, and our team will be happy to help. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the Bedegal people, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which the UNSW Kensington campus stands. I would also like to pay my respects to the elders, both past and present, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander who are joining us today. Here's our plan for the evening. First, we'll give you an overview of the Faculty of Arts, Design and Architecture and the degrees we offer. Then you'll hear a student interview so you get a real perspective on what studying here feels like. After that, we'll cover admission pathways, including portfolio entry and early offer pathways. And we'll finish with an alumni and student Q&A panel, which often is the most helpful part of the night because you can ask the questions that matter to you. I would now like to introduce the founding dean of the faculty, Professor Claire Annesley.
Good evening. My name's Claire Annesley. I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Arts, Design and Architecture here at UNSW. You'll probably hear me referring to it as ADA throughout my little talk. It's a real pleasure to welcome you tonight. I know that choosing a university, choosing your degree is a super big decision. It's not just about the degree programme, it's also about the environment you'll learn in, the people you'll be with, and the opportunities that you'll have beyond the classroom and the kind of things that these set you up to do for the rest of your life. So these are the kind of things that I'm going to cover in the next 10 minutes or so. And then you'll hear from some of our current students and a recent graduate about their experiences studying with us. And my three headline messages for you are about ambition, diversity, and experience. So one, our vision is kind of what we stand for. And it is that through creativity, collaboration and inclusion, we seek and solve problems to improve life on Earth. And I share that with you here up front because I think it gives you a clue about the scale of our ambition, the kind of community of students and educators and graduates that you'd be joining here at ADA. Two, our mission is that we listen, challenge, create and share diverse knowledge about people, place and cultures to enable lives with purpose. And I think what's important to know is that in ADA, there's a huge variety of degrees and study areas for you to choose from. And we've been adding to these in recent years. More about that in a minute. The third thing that I want to share is that experience is really important. We work closely with our students to ensure that they have a really great experience with us and that they're set up for success by the time they graduate. So 3 points: ambition, diversity, and experience. Let me start digging down in experience a little bit. At the end of each term, we send out a survey to our students and ask them to provide feedback to us on their course units, the subjects that they're studying, and their teachers. And what you can see from this slide that I'm sharing here is that over the last 5 years, the feedback that they've been giving us has been nudging up term by term by term. And we listen really carefully to this feedback and we work with our students to understand what will really make a difference to them. And then we invest our time and our resources in whatever it is that will make a difference to teaching quality, learning support, well-being, facilities, belonging, and, the opportunities that connect study at university to the world of work. So, for example, students said to us that it was really hard and overwhelming to navigate our degree programs and university as a whole when they joined UNSW. So kind of in partnership with current students, we co-designed and published what we call onboarding packs. And there's one for each degree program. And that is like the code book to tell you everything that you need to know about studying with us. Go into any kind of search engine and search ADA onboarding packs, and you'll find them and you'll get a sense from yourself about the kind of guidance we give you. So when you join ADA, you're not just entering a set of courses, you're joining a learning environment that is designed to help you to thrive academically and also personally. One of the most distinctive things about our faculty and the degrees in our faculty is how much choice our students have and the capacity that they have to kind of tailor their studies according to what they're interested in. You can see from this slide that we offer over 80 different study areas, which means that you can shape your degree around whatever it is that you care about. That might be design or innovation or creative practice, media, politics, society, might be languages or education, social change, or anything to do with the built environment. It may be a range of things that crosses multiple areas. The flexibility that you'd have with us is really important because we know that students' interests change and evolve. Many of our students arrive with one idea about what it is that they're interested in, and then they discover a whole new stream of strengths and passions along the way. And so our programs are designed to kind of support that exploration once you join. And I said at the start, we're committed to building this diversity of subject areas to meet the needs of, what is an increasingly complex world. And what you see on this slide, everything that's highlighted yellow, are the specializations that we've added in the past couple of years. So what can you see there? There's AI in business and society. There's a specialization in game art, a specialization of working with communities. And then, a few years earlier, we added primary education and we added a fashion specialization. So that's our commitment to diversity. On this slide, you can see how these diverse disciplines are sort of packaged as undergraduate degree programs. We offer 14 distinct degrees across arts, design and architecture, and each degree has its own focus and structure and professional orientation, whether that's creative practice or research and analysis, community impact, teaching, media production, or shaping the built environment. What's important is that students with us can choose a degree that feels aligned with their interests while still having that huge amount of flexibility within the program to explore majors and minors and other electives. What's really cool and distinctive about UNSW is that most of our degrees can be studied as double degrees. And what this slide shows you is the kind of more than 40 different double degree combinations that are available for students. Now, you don't know necessarily if a double degree is right for you. When students ask me, I usually say, well, think about what you would like your studies to do for you. Do you want a deeper specialization in one particular field, or do you want a broader combination of disciplines that reflect your interests and open, multiple pathways? It's your choice. What matters is that your degree helps you build the capabilities and the confidence and a kind of a clear story about who you are and what it is that you can do. We spend a lot of time thinking about how we can set our students up for success. And one of the things that we've been really focusing on in the last few years is how we can help them develop skills as well as disciplinary knowledge. We call these the enduring human skills that will set us all apart in a very competitive world in an era dominated by tech and AI. We focus on these 9 skills that you can see on this slide because they represent the essential capabilities that employers globally consistently identify as critical for career success now and up to 2030. They go beyond disciplinary knowledge or technical knowledge, and focus on transferable skills that apply across industries, across roles, across career stages. And they're also the skills that will enable our students, not just to get their first job after graduation, but to adapt effectively and change as they progress in their careers. It sets them up to be able to do the jobs that we don't even know exist yet. So together, these 9 skills provide what we think is a really balanced foundation. They support confidence and professionalism and long-term employability, while also giving employers clear evidence of, what our graduates are able to do. And this is where the ADA Skills Passport comes in. So we're launching this term a Skills Passport in ADA, and it's a new initiative that helps our students identify and track and showcase the skills that they've developed throughout their degree. And, it's not just confined to professional practice courses. This is a passport that's embedded across all of our programs, and it's kind of developed over time and in context. So what this means is that students can build an evidence of their skills. For example, a project or a reflection or a portfolio piece, a presentation, and then learn, using the Skills Passport, how to articulate what that particular skill demonstrates. And it becomes extremely important and useful for our students, we know, when they're applying for jobs or internships or international opportunities or scholarships or trying to set up their own business. It also helps students to say, this is who I am, this is what I can do, and here's the proof. We think it's going to be a superpower. A huge part of the capability building, the skills development, happens not in the classroom, but actually outside of the classroom. And we're super proud that our students have access to more than 1,000 links to industry and international partners. And this creates for them opportunities for internships, for client-based projects, for fieldwork experiences, and international work integrated learning or international exchange. And these experiences outside of the classroom give our students perspective and confidence and professional networks. And they also help our students discover really what matters to them and what matters to them for their future career. So for many of our students, a client project or a placement becomes the moment when they realize, what I've learned in the classroom is really important, and this is what I can do professionally. It's a sort of a bridge between learning and future work. I wanted to finish by sharing with you some of our students' favourite learning spaces. As you probably know, UNSW is mostly based on our campus in Kensington, but we also have a dedicated art and design campus on our Paddington campus, and that's for our fine arts students and some of our design degrees. On our Kensington campus, we have several maker spaces and creative spaces and a theatre, and these are the kind of spaces that enable our students to kind of put what they learn in the classroom into practice. They're spaces built for making and experimenting and improvising and collaborating and developing confidence with tools and methods that are really, really relevant for future work and industry. And I just wanted you to know that we've been investing a lot in these spaces to make them really great for our students. So this is what you now know about ADA. If you choose to study with us, you'll be part of a really ambitious but also supportive community of students and educators and alumni. You know now that you'd be able to choose from a really diverse range of study areas and degrees in a way that's sort of flexible and best suits you. And you also know that you would be carefully guided and supported with your choices to make sure that you are set up for success. I've talked a lot about how we bridge what we do in the classroom with that world of work and future employment. But what I haven't said yet, and I think this really matters, is that UNSW for the 7th year in a row has been named Australia's most employable university at the 2026 Australian Top 100 Future Leaders Awards. And that is an achievement that we're really proud of. Our students go on to do really great things, and that's recognised by employers. Now, rankings are only one measure of success. They reflect the quality of our teaching, the strength of our research, and the reputation that we have for our disciplines. But they're also a signal to employers, to industry partners and international institutions that a faculty like UNSW Arts, Design, Architecture is excellent and rigorous and built on a really strong community, and a degree from this faculty is recognised as a very valuable one. But most importantly, they recognise the sort of quality of the learning environment that our students step into. It's one that's respectful and respected, globally connected, and also one that opens doors both here in Australia and internationally. It's now my pleasure to hand over to Cameron Roberts, who will introduce you to some of our current and past students and take you through the next part of the evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire. This evening, I'm delighted to be joined by our current student, Marlene Kai, who was recently recognised in the Top 100 Future Leaders Awards. So congratulations, Marlene. Before we explore how that achievement came about, let's start at the beginning of your journey here at UNSW. So could you let us know what inspired you to pursue a double degree in Commerce and Design at UNSW?
Yeah, of course. So when I was in high school, I thought I would become an engineer. I did Math Extension 1, Physics, Engineering Studies in Year 12. But I also did design and technology, and I really enjoyed the design process when I was working on my major work project. And I decided that's what I wanted to do. So that was my passion. So I was sort of looking through all the degree options, and then I came across Commerce and Design at UNSW. And I found that, honestly, I really found that I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. It was able to combine both the analytical and creative sides of my brain, which was great. And with a double degree, you're able to actually graduate in 4 years compared to 2 if you were just to do a single in commerce or design. So I thought that was a great bonus as well.
Yeah, fantastic. So what was it specifically that attracted you to UNSW?
Yeah, so when I was in Year 12, I was lucky that COVID restrictions had just started to lift, and I was lucky enough to go to Open Day at UNSW. And when I got there, I felt immediately struck by how vibrant and lively the campus was. I knew that UNSW had over 300 societies and clubs, and it had a very active student life, but when you're actually there, it really feels different, puts it into perspective. There were so many stalls lined up across the main walkway. There were so many people, free food, chatter. It was a really great energy and vibe. I got to talk to a lot of societies, a lot of current students and academics. I learned more about the degree, about student life, about UNSW's great employability outcomes. And overall, I remember I just felt very welcomed and very excited by the idea of studying at UNSW.
Yeah, fantastic. And that's fantastic to hear from our end as well. So transitioning from high school can be tricky. Can you talk a bit about what it was like when you first started and how you went about making new friends?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, none of my friends from high school came to UNSW, so I came in alone. And as a shy introvert, I was really worried about, if I could make friends. It's a whole new environment, so it's very daunting and very intimidating. But at O Week, I actually met my first uni friends, and I'm actually still in touch with some of them to this day, so that's really great. So I really do recommend going out there and putting yourself out there and just saying hi and introducing yourself, because you realize that everyone is sort of in the same boat as you. They're probably anxiously wanting to or waiting for someone to talk to them, so definitely be the first to do that. I also found that design classes at UNSW was really easy to make friends because there were 4-hour studio classes. And you'd be doing a lot of in-class group work, you'd be talking to a lot of people. There was a lot of time to get to know each other every week. And sometimes we'd just get lunch after class, and that was a really great way to meet people as well. But one of my best decisions was probably joining societies in my first year. So I was in Nippon Students Association and Digital Society. In my first year, I was doing marketing subcom and media subcom, and that's when I really met a lot of people who had, like-minded interests and passions as me. Were interested in, the business, tech, digital strategy side of things in DigiSoc, and then I was able to connect with a lot of people who were also interested or passionate about Japanese culture at Nippon Students Association. I really recommend joining societies in your early years because it's a really great way to meet people.
Yeah, fantastic. And it's great to hear that you had such a fantastic experience through that. So something else that students really want to know about studying within the arts, design, architecture programs are learning outside the classroom is something that they want to know about. So have you undertaken any internships, industry projects, relevant work experience during your degree?
Yeah, definitely. I was really lucky that at the end of my second year, I landed a internship role at an AI fashion tech startup. I was actually referred to it by a friend that I met at a society, so that was really great. And then I was a UI UX intern, and then I got promoted to UI UX and graphics designer. And I really enjoyed the experience, like working in an agile environment, applying what I learned at uni. And it was a really good way of me actually confirming that this is what I want to do because, you're getting practical work experience. You kind of see what it's like to go down that field. Just over a month ago, I finished a summer internship. It was a 10-week full-time program at Commonwealth Bank. And that was an experience that I am really grateful for because I got a lot of great mentorship and guidance from my manager, from senior designers. I made a lot of great memories and friends in the intern cohort, and I learned a lot about professional practice at a large company, so that was really great. And then I also, since first year, I participated in quite a lot of case competitions and hackathons, which is essentially like 1 to 2 week competitions where an industry gives you a problem, and then you go about coming up with a solution with a team and pitching that to judges. So I did quite a lot of those because I really enjoyed the problem solving aspect. Most recently, I did Innovator Pro by UNSW Employability, and it was really cool to have to go to the New South Wales government's 24-hour economy team office. As a winning prize, we were able to present that idea in front of the office, in the team in the office. So that was really great too.
Yeah, it all sounds very, very, very cool. And the fact that you've been in so much is outstanding. Fantastic. So through all that, what skills from your degree have you found that have been the most valuable in those real world experiences?
That's a really hard question to answer because there's so many skills that I feel like you learn throughout university and that apply in the workplace, like leadership, critical thinking, creativity. They're all really important skills that I've seen. But I think if I were to choose like maybe the top 3, they all start with C, like collaboration, communication, and curiosity. Just being really willing to learn and open to, new ideas, working with each other in an environment and towards sort of a common goal. And that's when I feel like you're able to come up with the most innovative ideas as well. I feel like that's really, really important. And communicating your ideas. You might be a good designer, but if you can't communicate, then no one will be able to understand what great ideas you have. So I think those 3 skills, Yeah.
Perfect. So as you're continuing in or through your degree, what are you most looking forward to next?
As I continue my final year of studies, I am definitely looking forward to putting myself out there as a product designer and working on really meaningful projects, solving meaningful problems.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so last question I have for you today. What advice would you offer to future students considering studying here at UNSW?
Definitely get out of your comfort zone, put yourself out there. It's not just about academics, it's about, there's so much more out there. So definitely try to make the most of university life is what I would say.
All right. Thank you so much, Marlene. That's been very informative and it's fantastic to hear all about your journey through UNSW. All right. We'll pass back to Svet now, who's going to go through some admissions pathways.
Thanks, Cam. Now let's move on to our admission pathways. There are several pathways into ADA at UNSW, and we want you to understand which ones may suit your situation. Whether you're a current Year 12 student, a recent school leaver, someone with tertiary study experience, or coming through an alternative or vocational pathway. This slide provides you an overview of the main entry pathways available. These include direct entry, portfolio entry, the gateway admission pathway, UNSW College, and TAFE pathways for eligible programs. Each of these options is designed to support students from different academic backgrounds and with different strengths, helping ensure there are multiple ways to begin your journey at UNSW. Tonight, we'll take a closer look at some of these pathways, who they're best suited for, the types of students they support, and what is the typical next steps look like for each option. The aim is to give you a clearer understanding of the choices available and help you feel more confident at planning your pathway forward. Portfolio entry is available to domestic students, and it's designed for students to demonstrate their passion and strengths alongside the ATAR. If successful, students will receive an early conditional offer with an adjusted ATAR requirement of up to 10 points lower than the lowest selection rank. To be eligible, students must meet one of the criteria listed here, typically being a current Year 12 student or a non-recent school leaver who has completed Year 12 within the last 5 years, or someone who has completed some tertiary study. This includes a Cert 4, Advanced Diploma, and Diploma. There are 2 rounds with key dates across the year, and information sessions are offered both on campus and online. Portfolio entry covers a range of eligible degrees, and what you submit depends on which degree you're applying for. So the most important step is to check the degree category and requirements. A portfolio isn't just about showing your best work, it's about showing how you think, how you develop ideas, and how you communicate. For some students, that might include design projects, and for others, this could be a written critical reflection. If you're unsure whether your work counts, the answer is usually if it shows thinking, making, iteration, and intention, it can be relevant. And we always recommend attending an info session for examples and guidance. You can also submit your Year 12 major work as part of your submission. The Gateway Admission Pathway is an alternative pathway that offers early entry to UNSW for eligible students. There are 2 rounds, typically an early round and a later round. And there are 2 types of offers. An early offer, which has no ATAR requirement, students still must complete the HSC, and an early conditional offer, which has an adjusted ATAR requirement. If the adjusted ATAR is met, it becomes a firm offer. Gateway is about access and equity. And if you think you may be eligible, it's absolutely worth exploring because it can reduce pressure and open doors earlier in the year. You can find out if you're eligible via the link on the slide. And another pathway is through UNSW College. For many students, this is a strong option because it provides a structured transition into university study. Students complete a diploma in 12 months and then progress into second year at UNSW Sydney to complete their degree. This pathway can be particularly useful for students who want a supportive academic transition or who narrowly miss direct entry requirements. Students that come through this pathway thrive as it helps build confidence and capability before stepping into second year university coursework. And for students who have already completed their Year 12 studies and have studied at TAFE, credit for previous study may be granted, which can reduce the time needed to complete the UNSW degree. Here, you can see a list of eligible programs. These include programs like design, fine arts, interior architecture, landscape, social sciences, and social work, including several combined options. Now, continuing on from our discussion about TAFE and alternative entry options, I'd like to introduce another important pathway, the Indigenous Access Scheme, or IAS. IAS is an alternative entry pathway for Aboriginal and/or Torres Strait Islander students. It's an interview-based process that looks beyond academic results, recognising potential, personal achievements, and community involvement. It's open to both current school leavers and non-school leavers. What's particularly important about IAS is that it's not just about gaining entry. It's also about ongoing support throughout your degree. Through Nuragili Centre for Indigenous Programs, students have access to academic support and mentoring, cultural connection and community on campus, as well as scholarships and leadership development opportunities. Within Arts, Design and Architecture, students can apply for all degrees through IAS, with the exception of social work, which has a separate entry process through the Indigenous preparatory programs. If this pathway is relevant to you or someone you're advising, I encourage you to visit the Nuragili website listed on the slide for further information. We've covered a lot of information tonight, from degrees and student experience to the different ways you can begin your journey at UNSW. Now, I'm pleased to introduce our panel of alumni and current student who will be sharing their journeys, what led them to choose their degree, student life, and the opportunities they've taken advantage along the way. This is a great opportunity to hear real experiences and practical advice from people who were sitting where you are not too long ago. I'll now pass back over to Cam to host our alumni and student panel.
Thanks, Svetlana, and welcome to our panelists here this evening. What I'll get you each to briefly do, if you could, is introduce yourself, let us know what you studied at UNSW, and of course, for you alumni, what you're doing after. Georgia, we'll start with you.
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Georgia. I studied a Bachelor of Interior Architecture at UNSW with honours. I've worked in various design and strategy firms since, from Australia to in Denmark as well. I now work as a strategist at Irico, which is a placemaking consultancy. So we really specialise in really how behaviour shapes experience through space. And yeah, that's what I do.
Fantastic. Johnny?
Hi everyone, my name is Johnny. I am a second year UNSW student at the moment, studying a double degree, which is a Bachelor of Laws and a Bachelor of Arts. In my arts degree, I double major in politics and international relations and English. Yeah.
Fantastic. And Lily?
Hi, I'm Lily. When I was at UNSW, I studied a Bachelor of Media in PR and Advertising, and as well as a Bachelor of Commerce in International Business. So I really enjoyed the media, PR and advertising of my degree, so I decided to venture off into marketing within an agency. Since then, I've worked across 2 different agencies, and just recently, as of January this year, I've actually started working for UNSW on the marketing team because I missed it so much. I had to come back. I'm working in the marketing and content team now as a marketing specialist, working across future students like you guys. So hopefully I'll see you on campus.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, guys. On to our next question. So, what I'll get you guys to answer next is what initially attracted you to UNSW and how you decided on your degree or career direction, I suppose. So, Lily, we'll start with you.
Perfect. What attracted me to UNSW was my cousin actually was here at the time, and I spoke with a careers advisor at the high school I was at, and the program which I actually knew I wanted to do, I knew I wanted to work in marketing at the time, and she highly recommended the media course here. At the time it was called Communications, now called Media, and specialising in PR and advertising meant that I was able to, study marketing more broadly with the opportunity to pick up, something else on the side once I'd kind of entrenched myself into it, to see where I was feeling I might want to specialise in. But yeah, was there any other part of the question, sorry, that I missed?
No, that was perfect. So, Georgia, we'll go to you as the other alum here. Yes.
So I actually didn't really know what I wanted to study when I was first picking my degree. I actually moved to Sydney from rural New South Wales. And so a massive attractor to UNSW for me was that it had colleges on campus that you could live in, which was a really nice introduction to Sydney. So I actually started in a Bachelor of Arts when I moved to UNSW. I was really, really obsessed with storytelling, so I thought I was going to do journalism. And then a year in, I I had always sort of thought that I wanted to do architecture, and then I found the Bachelor of Interior Architecture, which was a really interesting sort of middle point between almost psychology, behaviour, and how that interact, how we design spaces that impact people and impact experience. So I transferred after a year in the Bachelor of Arts to Interior Architecture.
Fantastic. A very interesting journey. Johnny, as the current student here, so what attracted you to the law and arts degree at UNSW?
I think it was definitely the versatility of the degree and how UNSW, with its very, I think, robust name and opportunities that it can open, particularly in quite a competitive set of industries, that's something that definitely attracted me to the institution. It was really great to be able to see how different opportunities while I'm a student would also be open to me. And that looks like, for example, doing different firm-sponsored competitions while I'm studying here, being able to do like internship opportunities. And also another big thing that drew me here was the focus on student equity and student life while at UNSW. I came through the gateway admission pathway, and so definitely being able to have that additional support, but also having all these other, I guess, like I said, opportunities and avenues presented to me in the long run in particular was something that definitely attracted me here.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. And I think we'll stick with you for the next question, which is what does student life at UNSW look like in reality, both academically and outside of the academic world, the social world?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a big thing that draws a lot of people to UNSW, myself included, is the focus on student life and the different, I guess, pools of people based off of interest, career-oriented goals, stuff like that, that you can really immerse yourself into. I think in general, student life is really vibrant at UNSW, and in the academic sense, for instance, there's a lot of focus on collaborative learning, particularly in the, I guess, different types of classes that you might have, which range from like seminars to tutorials. All of these different things really encourage a lot of cooperation and teamwork. So academically, you have a lot of freedom in terms of what you can study, but also who you can connect with too. In terms of more like the social aspect of it, we have, I think, like heaps and heaps of different student societies that you can get involved in. Personally, I'm in about like 4 or 5, and being able to really, I think, get involved in the executive roles of those. So for instance, I'm a director in the Arts, Design and Architecture Society, and also within the Law Society of UNSW. Those kinds of opportunities as well are great for building the kinds of skills that I think would really help later on, in particular in the job market too, but also it's great to be able to meet new people, and I think it just makes the whole uni experience really enjoyable overall.
Yeah, great. And it's fantastic to hear that you're so involved in everything. So, Georgia, the same question to you. How did you find the social or student life, I should say, here at UNSW when you were studying?
I had a great time at UNSW when I was here. As I said before, I moved down here and moved into on-campus accommodation. If you're moving from 6 hours away to a city that you've never lived in before, that can be quite daunting. And so having a place that automatically opens you up to a whole new world of friends makes that process a whole lot less daunting. So that really helped with that transition. But academically, UNSW is incredible, especially in the degree that I was in, at mimicking what the real life work practice is like. So a lot of design degrees are studio based. So you're constantly collaborating with your peers, you're constantly throwing ideas around and brainstorming and learning how to critique your own work and take feedback and give feedback. And that was really, really valuable when going into the workforce, because it's very much like that when you work in design practice. As a follow on from that, you also get to know people really well when you're doing that constantly. So that's been a really beautiful thing that I've carried forward with me, have made really lifelong friends from my degree that way.
Yeah, fantastic. And Lily, so how was work experience something that helped you when you were studying here?
Yeah, so studying a Bachelor of Media in Public Relations, I was very interested into, obviously in working in marketing, but I wasn't really sure which way to go within marketing itself. So it did open up a lot of opportunities for me. I actually managed to secure an entry-level role part-time while balancing my studies as a result of, having that degree in progress. And having that work experience definitely, allowed me to put the skills I was learning at university at UNSW in action in the actual workplace. Some things I found really, really valuable were there was actually a class specified around working within an agency. So I felt like I had the skills equipped to go into the workplace and have some context on what to experience. And when I went in, I found that everything they had taught was very much on par, and I felt, really secure and prepared.
Yeah, fantastic. Great to hear. And I might go to you now, Johnny, with a common misconception that we sort of have, or students might have coming into UNSW, is that a double degree, such as what you're studying, is double the work. So what does a double degree look like for you?
So at UNSW, at least when I commenced, when you go in to study law, it is mandatory to pair that degree with another degree. So you can't do law on its own. But even if I could, I would have still chosen to do a double in the first place. I think it's a very big misconception that 2 degrees means the work of 2 degrees, really. I think being able to complement the knowledge that you gather in 1 degree with the knowledge of another definitely makes you a more competitive applicant in the job market in particular, but also just for your personal growth and knowledge. I find myself studying, for example, my law content and applying things that I've learned in my politics courses there, or for example, going through my English work and applying my law knowledge from that. So it all, I think, is really interconnected. And I think another big misconception is that if you want to work in a specific area in 1 degree, you have to pick another degree that would logically go with that. But I think any degree combo itself in a double arms you with a big scope and breadth of knowledge. The workload itself, I don't think is particularly intense. You literally do the exact same workload as someone doing a single degree on its own. And at the end of the day, for 1 additional year, you get a whole other degree as well. And that's, I think, something that definitely attracted me to the institution as well. Double degrees, I think, are also great to broaden your social life, and you meet people in 1 degree and you meet people in the others between classes. It's just, I think, a really great opportunity, and that's something that UNSW, I think, does really well.
Yeah, perfect. We might go to our alumni now. Georgia, I'll start with you. Since graduating, so you've both held various roles in the workforce. Can you just give us a bit of an idea of what that transition was like from study to the workforce? What transferable skills you might have gained from UNSW, and is it sort of the area that you thought you were going to go into after graduating?
Yeah, sure. So there's a million transferable skills that I think I developed at UNSW. My career path has been definitely, I think, for a design degree, less linear than other ones, which I have found really exciting. So what helped me transition was similar to Lily. I actually started working when I was still at UNSW. So I got a job in an architecture firm, which really, really helped with the application of the skills that I was learning, and became quite a lovely symbiotic learning environment of learning the skill and applying it, and then, bringing those skills back into what I was getting to do at uni. I also did a work integrated learning subject, so I was able to do an internship through UNSW where I was able to contact an architecture firm. They took me on for a certain amount of time, and there was a lot of feedback between the course and what I was doing in that program. So that was really, really valuable. But in terms of transferable skills, all of the communication skills that you learn at UNSW through interacting with people and socialising are so, so valuable in the workforce. I think particularly something that arts design and architecture does really well at UNSW is that cross-industry collaboration and learning. I think there was nothing that I studied at UNSW that hasn't been extremely valuable, even if it was sort of left of field. All of it really goes into forming a really well-rounded understanding of the world, I guess.
Yeah, fantastic to hear. Lily, what did your journey look like?
Yeah, well, similar to Georgia, I was studying at UNSW and I actually applied for a job in a marketing agency, an entry-level role. And to secure that role, I was able to put on my resume I was able to put on my resume the industry-based projects that I'd actually been working on at UNSW. So, for example, what comes to mind is we actually did a real-life brief for Roche, the pharmaceutical company, and that was a really, really great eye-opening experience of how I could apply my skills and use that as an example to land me this role. And through there, I was balancing my studies as well, which honestly was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I think you asked before about, is a double degree double the load? Definitely not. I actually, while working, decided to pick up a double degree. And yeah, then from there, I actually transferred to another marketing agency. And now I'm actually working for UNSW because I loved it so much I had to come back, of course. So working on the marketing team here has been great, you know, seeing the other side of things and just the kind of culture and lifestyle of UNSW is definitely a great place to be. So yeah, that's a little bit about my journey.
Yeah, well, fantastic. I mean, it's so interesting that you've gone to so many places, both of you, outside of graduating. So a fairly similar question, but I'll get all of your input if I can. Georgia, I might start with you again. How would you say UNSW prepares you for the real world, and what experience has made the biggest difference for you?
Yeah. I mean, similar to, like I said, all of that work integrated learning and getting real experience out in the workforce whilst you're still studying is what could be better preparation than that. But UNSW has also always been incredibly supportive. For example, when I graduated uni, an opportunity came up for me to work in Copenhagen, and I was able to reach out to my UNSW tutors, which I'd formed a really close connection with, and they were able to give me that reference to get this position in Copenhagen.
Fantastic.
Can you repeat the question again? Sorry.
Yeah. So just essentially, what experience made the biggest difference for you in preparing you for the real world?
Yeah, sure. I think also something that was really beautiful was that you learn a lot about design thinking in design degrees, which is really a type of thinking and a way of thinking that you can apply to all sorts of projects when you go out into the real world. That has been really, really valuable for me.
Yeah, fantastic. Johnny?
I definitely agree. I think there's a lot of different opportunities that UNSW gives students to really get involved from a very early stage in their degree. I think like one great example is the kinds of people that you're learning from and the people who are providing you not just with the textbook content, but also teaching you how to apply what you learn in real life. So for example, I've had tutors and professors and lecturers that work full-time in their respective industries who are now teaching us as well on the side a lot of what they do every day pretty much. So you develop a really acute understanding of, for example, this law is like, and then this is how it's actually applied in real life, or this is how this political norm operates in theory, and then this is where we're seeing it today. I think it also, just circling back as well, another big thing that UNSW does to really prepare you in general is give you the kinds of like internship opportunities, for example, to really get involved. And that's another thing that I think we do really well in equity in particular. If you come from, for example, a low socioeconomic status background, these are the kinds of opportunities that are given to you to really help familiarize yourself with an environment that otherwise might have always been out of reach. And so I think overall it's been a really great experience for me, and I'm excited to see as I continue in my degree how these kinds of opportunities continue to come up and how I can apply what I've learned.
Yeah, great. It's great to see all of these skills coming through. Lily, again, what has UNSW done to prepare you for the real world, and what experience would you say was the thing that made the biggest difference?
Yeah, perfect. So UNSW has certainly prepared me for the real world in plenty of ways. I think something that's very key, which has been something that's been raised a couple of times by each of us, is that work integrated learning, the industry-based projects. It's, we're studying the theoretical side of it. We're studying, applying a practical side of it, but then actually having the opportunity to apply that in the real world is something that's it's something that's, going to help us when we go to apply for jobs, and we have, actual experience on our resume that we can add, which is something that I use myself and help me land that role. And I think another really special thing about UNSW, to your point that you raised earlier, is the quality of professionals here and academics teaching us. So I can think of so many tutors I've had that have been working full time in the industry that I want to tap into. Getting the first-hand insights from them was commendable. I remember one of my professors, I've got him on LinkedIn and keep updated with everything. He had worked for, Arnott's Biscuits, Blackmores, and then I ended up working in an agency working on the Blackmores account. So it was, great to have those kind of insights from them, but not only the tutors themselves, also the students. The amount of networking opportunities you have as a UNSW alumni is limitless. As soon as I add someone on LinkedIn, I can see UNSW alumni. I'm like, perfect, you're a bit of me. But yeah, no, that's definitely, I'd say, the networking opportunities, the quality of education, and also the practices in place, such as, experience working on practical real life briefs, is certainly something that sets UNSW apart.
I'd love to add to that actually while we're on that. Sure. The quality of the coursework itself, we had very similar, that we had real world experiences in the projects that we had to do. For example, it was one project on a company called IDEO, which is like the company that invented design thinking. We had to design a really innovative workplace, a post-COVID-19 workplace for them. And it was actually designing that workplace that got me on the track of moving more towards strategy and design. And so it was really doing that exact project and that like real world example that sort of sent me down the path that I've ended up on.
Yeah, great. I mean, it's fantastic to hear you guys have had so many opportunities through UNSW. So thank you so much for answering the questions today. I think we'll end it with one that, because we obviously have a lot of high school students, many of them going through their HSC at the moment, who I think would love to know, what is one piece of advice that you would give to those students who are considering study at UNSW? So Johnny, would you like to kick us off?
Sure. I think as someone who has been in this boat quite recently, it's definitely like obviously a very tough sort of time because you're very unsure of what's coming next. But my advice would be quite literally dive in head first. I think being able to get involved in student life, try and grasp the shifts in the academic approaches right from the onset, really just throw 100% of yourself into the uni experience makes it really great, and I think very smooth as well. I find that a lot of the people who are now some of my closest friends, some of the knowledge that I've gained over the past couple years here, all emerged because I was, I think, really adamant on getting out of my comfort zone when I initially started here and understanding that this is a new environment, but that also means new opportunities too, right? So so my advice would definitely be like, go in head first, and I promise you'll be fine.
Perfect. Georgia?
My advice would be acknowledge the fact that you have worked so hard to get where you are, and once you're into university, you're in. And that is a really, really exciting thing because it means that this is this like beautiful period of time where you get to learn and absorb and really, really take the opportunity to take everything as learning and to experiment and to try different things, because you'll have plenty of time to go out there in the workforce and apply it. So use this time to really absorb anything that you're interested in. For example, the general elective subjects that I did when I was at UNSW have sort of ended up being some of the most valuable courses I ever took, and they were completely random and not always necessarily directly related to my degree, but they were some of the best learning that I did. And don't underestimate how anything that you can learn at university can be applied in real life after you leave.
Brilliant. I love it. Lily?
My advice would be, I guess, similar to yours. I think, charge ahead and don't look back. I think going to UNSW is probably one of the best decisions I've made for myself. And I think, if you make that decision to come to UNSW, the experiences and opportunities that you will get by going here are so valuable that you will look back and, have the same outlook I do, that I'm so glad I made that move. And I guess like Georgia said as well, once you're in, you might get here and if you're unsure about your degree, because that was definitely in a place I was in. I was not so sure. I was like, I know UNSW is a great university. I would love to go there, but I'm not really sure what I want to study. Coming into the, outer faculty, I actually started off in arts and media. And then I was like, you know what, I'm really loving media. I'm just going to focus on that. Being in, I had that, opportunity for choice, and the amount of, opportunities here are tremendous, and the quality of education. I just think if you decide to go here, you won't regret it, and you'll have a great time along the way, meet some lifelong best friends like I have, and have fun while doing it, because that's really important. Your time here is only short. It seems like graduation is so far away when you start, but I can assure you it flies by. So that's the advice I think I would like to give.
Perfect. That sums it up beautifully. So once again, thank you guys for sharing your insights and experiences with us and with our audience here tonight. Back to you, Svet.
Thank you so much to our panelists for sharing your experiences and insights tonight. As we wrap up this evening, I'd like to highlight a few upcoming opportunities where you can continue exploring arts design and architecture at UNSW. First, we have our Future Creators Day on Tuesday, 7th July. This is a fantastic opportunity to experience our creative disciplines firsthand, meet academics and students, and get a real feel for what studying here is like. If you're considering applying through Portfolio Entry, we're also running Portfolio Entry information sessions, one in person on Tuesday, 14th July, and one online on Wednesday, 15th July. These sessions will walk you through what to include, how to prepare, and how the application process works. And of course, we'll be at UNSW Open Day on Saturday, 5th of September, which is a great chance to explore the campus, attend degree presentations, and speak directly with staff and current students. We'd love to see you at one or all of these events. Thank you again for joining us this evening. We hope you're leaving with a clearer understanding of your pathways and possibilities. We look forward to hopefully welcome you to UNSW soon.